Let's talk about this new law, Nick, if we can. The Safer Phones Bill being published tomorrow.
Yes, brought in by Labour MP Josh McAllister. The idea is it will lead to a crackdown on what's called doom scrolling, just to help the viewers. That's when people compulsively read negative news. Well, sadly, at the moment, I think probably all news is fairly negative news. But the reason is research shows that under 12s are spending, count this, 21 hours a week scrolling, sometimes doom scrolling, on the phones. That's like a part-time job. What it will mean is that will be outlawed. Of course, it will be the practice, won't it? As with all these things, the idea is a good idea. It will be prizing, I'd take you back the children, 13 to 16, as you mentioned. In some instances, I think this is almost your children's age, or just a little bit, they virtually live on their phone. I don't know how easily they're going to give up those phones. Personally, I think it's probably a very good idea. As many laws are, it will come down to the implementation.
Alison? Yeah, and I think the idea of banning phones in schools altogether, a lot of schools are already trying to do that for under 16s. They are trying to do it. And across Europe, I think in the Netherlands, in Finland, they've quite robust rules now that phones either have to put in a sealed box or you're just not allowed to bring it into the premises. So here, it's still just guidance. And whether this law actually comes into effect, we'll know at some point. But clearly, I think parents, teachers really do want to change something, just so that kids at lunchtime can have a bit of time just to chat, so they don't feel they're constantly sort of being inundated with information. And I think even young people themselves, when you talk to them, I remember my daughter went away on a trip where they weren't allowed phones for a week. And she said it was very strange the first couple of days. And then after that, it was almost like a huge weight had been lifted off her.
My boys, we're talking about it at the schools at the moment. And my oldest one is junior school. And actually, it's really good because all the parents are getting together and saying, as a uniform, this is the uniform rule. There are going to be
The plan is to work together.
Yeah, it's got to be.
It's something you're passionate about, Martin, as well, isn't it?
I am, yeah. My daughter's just started senior school and she's got a dumb phone. So she can make calls and she can do text, but very little else.
Was she frustrated that she didn't have a smartphone?
No, and that's the convention now, and that's what the school has asked, that happens until they're older, and I think that's the right thing. I am genuinely concerned about the impact of smartphones on our younger generation, the mental health impact. I know there are many kids who can go through it and will be fine, but we do have a near epidemic proportion of mental health problems in young people, and the deliberately addictive algorithms that are used on social media websites like TikTok and others are incredibly damaging and can leave people down rabbit holes. Both through my mental health charity money, mental health that I have, and also friends' experience. Unfortunately, I've seen some people have some very dark times in their teen years. And I think anything we can do, we protect them from other addictions, we protect them from smoking, we protect them from drinking. I think we need to look at the impact on smartphones. And I think, to be honest, for me, this spreads further than schools. Well, remember when we were all younger, there was the watershed on television, when television was dominant. We all knew after 9 o'clock it wasn't suitable for kids. Our parents said it. You had a social convention. It also helped set a bedtime. Now, I've seen on my daughter's and other friends' phones, people are messaging, even when she was in junior school, at 10, 11 o'clock at night, it's going ping. She's in bed, the machine is going ping on social. I would actually argue that we should have a curfew on messaging use for teenagers of 9 p.m. Now, before anyone says, how do you enforce it? It isn't about enforcing. What it is about doing is setting up national expectation that when your child says, but my friends are doing it, you can say, no, there's a national curfew rule. Your friends' parents are allowing them to do that when the curfew says they shouldn't. And if you provide a convention that we can all work together on, it's never enforceable legally. That isn't the point. It's about friction in the system. If we started to have those type of conventions and start to actually think, smartphones, they were brought upon us and they've grown organically without the rules, regulations and guidance that are needed to actually work out how these incredibly powerful computer devices that connect your young child to a much broader world than we were ever exposed to affects them. So I think there's a lot of thinking to be done, and I think we need to do it quite quickly.
1 in 4 youngsters use phones in a way that's consistent with behavioural addiction. That's according to the Commons report this year. So there's, unquestionably setting up those targets, the parameters. It feels like it needs to come in. It's how they enforce it.
That's what it'll come down to.